Before we jump into today's show, I just wanted to let you know that I have got a brand new 3-part audio series available to download right now. If you head over to donnaeade.com/3-part audio, that's all one word, no spaces, you can download your How to Build Your Authority with Podcasting audio series. This is going to address guesting and hosting. So if you're interested in either of those and you want to know how to build your authority, head over to donnaeade.com/3-part audio. The link will be in the show notes. You're listening to the Mindset and Action Podcast, the place to be to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade. Let's jump into the show. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am really, I always say I'm really excited for today's show, especially when I have a guest. But oh my goodness, I am so excited for this one because I have got a very lovely friend and a birthday buddy. Because as we're recording this, it's only a week till our birthdays. So Elaine Walsh-McGrath, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my God, could I be any more excited to be here? I am currently obsessed. You are my walking buddy. And indeed, as you discuss, oh yes, you're in my ears, the most intimate place you could be. Now in my personal space, Donna. I love you. I love your work.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And do you know what? It's so funny because you kind of see the downloads and they're just numbers and you have no idea. But when people actually reach out and say, oh, I was listening to the podcast and blah, 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 that makes me so, so happy. It's like people do actually listen. The numbers mean something. Oh, yeah. So I love that. I'm
following you on Podbean. That's
That's your jam, is it?
You're right up there. You're right up there.
Love that. Love that. So before we dive into this conversation, which I know is going to be fantastic, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. I'm Elaine Walsh-McGrath, and I really help CEOs, MDs, consultants who have more of a tendency to social conscience or maybe have something in their background that is holding them back from really attaining that like stellar celebrity like visibility that all their credibility, authority and experience goes, wow, but of course you should be smashing this. Something is generally holding them back that maybe they're not exactly conscious of. And quite often they come to me going, oh, I really need to be on LinkedIn. And that's the front door that they come through. And then the house opens up to me helping them on many levels to really shine and find their mojo and like really step into who they are and not apologize for it anymore. So I know that's a flippin' hell of a sentence.
Yeah.
But that is exactly what I do.
I love that. I love that. And it's interesting to sort of hear it like that because I think a lot of us tend to think that when we're in business, we know what's wrong. And we go, oh, this is what's wrong. And we can oftentimes end up spending our money in the wrong places because we go to, I just need to create a course. If I created a course and put that on Evergreen, I'd be sorted. That would be the Unstuck. I know if I just go and, start a Facebook group and then monetize it, that's going to be so you go to these experts and you spend that money and generally speaking, that's all they do. And so you do it and then it doesn't work and then you've wasted your money potentially and you're like, what do I do? So the fact that they can come to you, you're known for being a whiz on LinkedIn and people come to you for that, but you're able to help them see that that's not necessarily where the problem's lying. I love that.
This is it. I mean, so recently I was talking to somebody who has worked with me and I'm working with her. And when it came down to it, I was like, you know what? I'm actually a Formula One marketing mechanic. So I open the lid and the problems come to me like this isn't selling, or I can't get X, Y, and Z to sell. Then I open up the lid and go, well, I can see what the problem is. And I get my tools and I get like, up with the old sleeves and off I go. And they're in this supported environment with me who has somebody who's worked on L'Oreal, Colgate, Burger King, Ryanair, Volkswagen. Like there isn't probably a project that you can think of that I didn't work on in the like nearly 25 years of my advertising agency career. So it comes with all that knowledge. But in addition, I also run my own businesses because I'm a serial entrepreneur. And so everything that I teach comes from a place of I've done it.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's my new thing at the core of the heart of my business. I'm like a marketing mechanic, but not just any old marketing mechanic. I'm a Formula One Grand Prix winner. Marketing mechanic,
That's such a great visual. And now I've got you. If anybody knows Elaine, she's the queen of pink. She loves her pink, and I've just got you in a pair of pink overalls. You know, the full body Formula One.
With a big magnum of champagne, I
Oh, I
think.
love
Yeah.
it.
In one hand and maybe a spanner in the other.
Oh dear, that's awesome. So today's conversation, I had planned a conversation for today, but Elaine came in and said, "Look, this is what's going on in my business, and I think this would be a really good topic to talk about." And I happen to agree. So we are changing things up a little bit today in this conversation, and I think it's one that everybody should listen to and take comfort in, really, because I think a lot of us sort of suffer behind the scenes and don't really talk about it. So, Elaine, tell us a little bit of what's been going on, whatever you're comfortable with, what you're happy to talk about. What's been going on in your world? What's been changing? Because obviously, back when we booked this, which was probably a few months back now, we've take our time on these things, don't we? But it was LinkedIn guru. She knows everything about LinkedIn, and that's what I really knew you for. The marketing side, I knew that you'd done it, but I didn't realize how much of a part of your business it was in the background. So, talk to us about what's been happening for you this year and what's been changing.
So my word for 2025 was harvest because I am a devil for creating lots of things and not stopping.
Mm,
I don't know whether any of you have done any work around sacred money archetypes, but if you have, then you'll understand when I say that when I did the work on that, I discovered that I was equal alchemist and celebrity. And my third one was ruler. So alchemists tend to build lots of stuff, be super creative, like almost like access inspiration from the universe. And quite often when I work one to one with people, I like joke and say, "Oh, your ideas are coming to me. They're coming through me." Um, but that has had the negative aspect of that is that I create lots of things.
mm,
And then I'm a one person show. And therefore, how do I promote all of these things? I'm also a celebrity in denial. So now anyone who knows me is most likely walking, listening, and eye rolling all at the same time. Because, yeah, I did not realize that. And I fought it because I really felt that celebrities were up themselves. And so
mm.
I was like, I don't like that. But then I had to come to peace with not judging myself. And then my ruler was like making things really complicated. And that's kind of where I landed into this conversation with Donna today, because I came here going, do you know what? There's been a lot going on in the background of my personal life. I shall be 51 on the 27th of June. And like many women at that age, I'm going through perimenopause and I've been going through some gynae issues
Mm.
that
Yeah, to
are
put it
impacting my
lightly.
energy, right? I also, for anybody who doesn't know me, I have a beautiful daughter. She is 8 and she has Down syndrome. And she has complex needs. And like many people, I'm sure, who navigate that world, not only are you interacting with somebody that you love and you're trying to parent and nourish, but you also have other roles like lobbyist,
Mm.
advocate, therapist, and not just one therapy, but the whole kit and caboodle of therapies that that child or adult needs. And
Yeah.
so I suddenly realized after lots of listening to podcasts like Donna's or Denise Duffield Thomas's, like that there are different seasons to our business. And I was really in push mode, even though thankfully I had chosen harvest as my word. And so the more I leaned into harvest and the more I kept saying simplify to myself, the more I thought, wow, like the ruler, I have created this empire, but maybe it's not serving me
Mm.
and my needs for a business right now. And so, in the past 6 months, as I've been still promoting my offers that I had in existence coming into this year, I've been doing a lot of inner gym work to go, okay, does this really align with me? And as Donna mentioned earlier, when she said, oh, I've designed this course or I've run this on Evergreen because I've taken this advice from somebody else,
Mm.
what I realized last year and definitely this year was I had the answers. And so, as I am talking to you right into your ear, just what I want to whisper to you is you have the answers inside of you for how your business is going to flourish. And what you're accessing is advice that other people have experienced based on their expertise and their lived experience of their business. But unless they deeply understand how you are made up, then it may not be the right advice for you. And what I've realized is there were a number of things in my business that are still in my business, but I'm working through that do not align with me. And that's what that's what we discussed when I went,
Mm.
hang on a second, things have changed, and I've got something to tell you.
I really appreciate you sharing it because I feel like so many times, especially nowadays in business, we are bombarded by social media, huge entrepreneurs in the online space, and we're sort of taught that this is the route, and if you just follow these steps, it'll work. I will never forget doing a program during COVID, which obviously was a really hard time, but it was very obvious that the business that I was trying to create in COVID really wasn't the right time. I'm trying to set up a membership for wedding vendors in the middle of a pandemic where no wedding vendor is working and has income. How was that ever going to work? And I was doing this membership program, and I was told that there are no special snowflakes, that if you just follow the modules, you will be successful, which was about as useful as, turning around and telling, I don't know, it was ridiculous. It was just a ridiculous, I can't think of an analogy off the top of my head. But you know what I mean? It was just a ridiculous statement to make, because every business is different, because every person behind the business is different. We're all unique. We've all got our strengths and weaknesses. And it could be that a membership was never actually going to work for me because, like you said, depending on my sort of, human design, my soul signature, my money archetype, all of those different elements of who makes up me is going to work differently with different things. So it's just so frustrating. And I think a lot of people sort of go down the path and end up building a business that they absolutely bloody hate. So for you, because you've got this celebrity aspect of you, so you're building, making all these new things. Was it ever, do you feel like it was ever something that was sort of you were seeing from the outside and you were taking, or was it just that your mind was racing and you were just like, oh, and I could do this and I could do that, and a shiny object and jump over there? So what was it for you that kind of led you to that sort of situation before you made this change?
I think it was a bit of column A and a bit of column B.
Mm,
So, in terms of my journey, and this is why I really, again, want to go back to what I just said, really, really go inside for decisions about your business. Really listen to your body. One of my clients was a somatic coach. I really recommend that you get into your body and listen to those decisions that you're making. It's probably disconnected from your head, because when you are trying to build a business that is different to what you did before, then you're seeking advice and you're looking at people who have done it already. So, what happened to me was when I had my daughter, I had a six-figure consultancy business. I used to work on the Volkswagen account, I worked on Ryanair, I worked on Virgin Media. I would go into agencies and I would lead those accounts and lead teams. But I realized once I had my daughter that that was incompatible,
mm.
because of the additional roles that no one tells you about. Right? And so I was like, okay, and also there was loss in a change of plan.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have a typical child. I am so thrilled and absolutely love my daughter to bits. But there's always loss when it comes
Yeah.
to a different experience, a path that has changed dramatically, right? So I went, okay, what am I going to do? I started going, okay, how could I have a more flexible life? Now, we won't go through the number of different things I tried, because, like you, during COVID, I had a very different business. I had been like, oh, I could really support my daughter if I learned more about yoga. And oh gosh, should I start my own yoga business? But ironically, the marketing kicked in and it was hugely successful. But I wasn't reading yoga philosophy books. I was reading marketing books.
Yeah.
And so during that period of time, I saw other people with courses and they had Facebook groups. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this. Like, look at, what they've made. This is so good. I know they have a similar skill set in the background. Maybe I could do that. And so I created a generic marketing course. That didn't work. I had no copywriting experience at the time, even though it comes naturally to me. So I had to hone that skill. And I did over the past 5 years, actually. But again, I joined another program, and that person had massive success around selling Canva templates as like a small offer, and then building a community in Facebook, and then up leveling people to a higher ticket. And that really worked for her. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And her whole thing was about offers. And I was like, okay, but I intuitively was like, I don't like the idea of a Facebook group. That
Mm.
just exhausts me. Nonetheless, I didn't listen to myself. And so I opened different Facebook groups with different offers, and it just drained the life out of me. And I have a regular conversation with my amazing VA, Louisa, where I go, how can we get this thing to work? And it just doesn't. And I don't know. I'm a spiritual person and I just feel like energetically it's off with me.
Mm.
And so that's another example of something that just has always been off. Another thing that I did was I learned from a business coach to do 6-month coaching. She really helped build my confidence. I will be forever grateful for her input into my life. But her way of doing it was to provide an extended payment plan, which was a genius idea. Okay, it's really good. It really worked on a level for me because I signed clients for sure. However, instead, she was really able to keep people to a 6 month and still they would pay her across 10 or 12 months. Whereas what happened with me was it just extended into the 10 months.
Mm.
And so I never got a break. And when I looked at my human design, it's all about intensive bursts of energy for me, and then a requirement to retreat
Mm.
into my cave
Yeah, I know that one.
and replenish, right? And I haven't been doing that for the last 5 years.
Mm.
And so I've come to the realization as I've been working with CEOs and MDs that what they're getting out of me is that Formula One Grand Prix winning marketing mechanic energy. For example, one of my clients has a 600 client business. They have a SaaS product. And during the time that we've been working together, they've been pitching to a business that has 6,000 properties. So potentially, if they win that business, their business will change from 600 to, you know, 6,600. And
Mm.
they're down to the final two. And I've worked with them on their pitch. And he has said to me, Elaine, you've been instrumental in this. And so I suddenly realized, God, I have just been in total denial about my skills that I have from all of the awards I won and all the business I worked on with like L'Oreal, Ryanair, Volkswagen. I led a team that worked with Kofi Annan. It's just mad. But like you just said, Donna, you didn't know that because I never talk about it.
Mm.
And I only started talking about it in the last 6 months and only touching on it,
Mm.
but not really stepping in and owning it. And so, really, as I often say to my people that I work with, quite often, what you're coaching someone is what you're coaching yourself on.
Yeah,
And so, quite often, the issues that they're grappling with are exactly you're holding up a mirror to yourself.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so this is the juncture that I've arrived at. Obviously, I have today during our discussion, I have a Facebook group, but I don't know whether I will anymore. It's certainly going to change because it's always open. So if I retain it, it will change to being like closed, except for like learning labs, or I will close it.
Mm.
And I've closed my membership as of today, so there will be one more call. And I've realized I can't sustain that energy. And so it's about looking at your business and going, okay, what energy can I actually bring to this? And it doesn't matter whether you're a CEO of many or a CEO of one. You still have to do that work and go, honestly, does this work for me in my life? And am I getting the revenue that I deserve out of this? And I think a lot of people say, oh, businesses, can take them 5 years to make a profit, but you shouldn't be like struggling every single year.
Mm. Yeah.
You've got to look at the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just hard. Honestly, guys, being in business is hard. It's not easy. And I think a lot of people are fooled into thinking that it's easy to make money online and you can just, click your fingers and all of a sudden you're a millionaire. And it doesn't work like that. I think people are very much lulled into a false sense of security with that. And it's kind of heartbreaking, really, because the statistics out there of how many businesses start and fail in their first 5 years, and I think that's probably increased in the last 5 years because I think people think it's easy, so they start and then they quit very quickly afterwards. So I think that's probably increased since the online realm has increased in terms of business failures. And it can be so hard to hold on sometimes when you think this is what works for me, this is what works for my personality. So for me, for example, this works much better for me than working in a 9 to 5 job. I had a 9 to 5 job before COVID. I worked a business before that. I was back in jobs before that. Like, I've been in and out of the working world for most of my adult life. Looking after my daughter for a few years in there full time and things like that. But the business side of things, I've always felt better inside personally because I'm at home, I'm in my comfort zone, I'm chill, I'm an introvert. So, anything that involves lots of people and being outside is a stress on my system. So I've been much better since being at home. So it's like owning my own business is where it's at for me then, because that works better for me. But it's such a struggle sometimes. And like you, I've changed what I've done. Obviously, the business that I started in 2020, despite what this guru said about my membership, failed. And I had some beautiful members in there. If you're listening, guys, I love you. They were so supportive, and even when I sort of held fire for a year to try and let the industry recover back in 2022, I think all but one of them stayed and paid their membership for the year and supported me through that year, even though I wasn't providing them new stuff, because they believed like I did in what we were doing. And it's just such a shame that that didn't work out. However, I've lent into the podcasting, which is what people know me for and talk to me about. And I always get, oh yeah, I was told somebody asked about podcasting and I mentioned you. And so, and I heard somebody talk about you the other day about podcasting. And that's brilliant to hear. But it's still not easy. The business side of it is still not easy. Like, I could go out there and I could teach podcasting left, right, and center, not a problem. But getting the messaging right, getting the payment systems right, pricing yourself properly, and getting the marketing right so that people are seeing the value and want to pay you for what you're doing is so difficult. And I mean, obviously, you've got the advantage of you've got that Formula One experience behind you. So you've got that marketing element, but still, there are things that don't click for you, which is what you've been digging into this year with the whole what is aligning with me. And I said to you before we jumped on that in the Business Women Unlimited meeting that I run, we had Carly Wall, your business bestie, on talking about slowing down for the summer holidays. And this episode was due to go out in August, maybe September time, but I might bring it forward. You'll know if you're listening to this earlier than that, because I think it's an important conversation to sort of continue, especially if you were in that Business Women Unlimited meeting. But in general, I think the summer holidays tends to be quieter for most people, whether they have children or don't, because if they don't have children that are affected by the school holidays like I don't, a lot of my clients do, so that they're doing less, and it's just that summer vibe where things quieten down, and it's a great time to stop and reflect and to actually think about it. So if we can put this conversation out there so people have the time to go, oh, actually this is sounding like me, or that's the situation I'm in, it might just prompt that thought process for them. And as Carly says, your business, your rules. And I think we need to sort of discover what our rules are, because I think we are so influenced by people outside and people that are meaning well with their advice. There are plenty of people in my network that would be absolutely willing to sort of give me advice, and it come from a really good place. And then there are the big gurus that are just giving blanket advice out to anybody, and they assume that it would work for everybody, and it doesn't. But so many people take that to heart and run with it, and it's kind of painful to watch. You kind of want to, as somebody who's been in the business for a little while longer, you kind of want to be shouting at your screen when you see all these people like fanning over these people. Like, no, you don't understand. Don't waste your money.
It's so true. And because you have to look at who is giving you the advice.
Mm,
And, if like with my own clients, quite often they are looking up to somebody who is really inspiring them, But then when you dig into it, what I always say to them is, okay, but they have a team.
Mm,
So be careful of listening to their advice or copying what they're doing because it might not be right for your stage of business.
yeah.
And so even if it's perfect in terms of alignment, it still may not be right for stage of business. And that's what I've realized about my own journey. It's like, okay, yeah, these other things could work for me for sure, but they're out of alignment for me. And if I had grown the business exponentially and had a team, then that would actually be fine because I could employ someone who was more of a connector, nurturer energy, who would be perfect for being in a group and being a community manager and getting that energy going.
Mm,
And so you must listen to both as I say, a CEO of one or a CEO of many. You have to look at, who you are as a leader, who you are as a person, and then what resource do you have, and
mm,
then really look at what you want to achieve and apply that because look, as you know, like running your own business is the greatest personal development challenge a
yeah.
person could do. And I would not change it. I would not change. I am a serial entrepreneur and I love the challenge of it. And I love the results my clients get. I adore working with them. And like you said about your membership, goodness, I loved my members so much.
Yeah.
I love their businesses and helping them to improve their messaging. But sometimes, and that can be hard, that can be hard to let that go. I'm sure it was for you. It is for me. You end up with one foot in and one foot out, going, oh, I don't want to disappoint these people. I love them so much.
Yeah.
But also going, okay, but you have to be true to your business and what's right for you and your family.
Yeah. 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 That is so, so important. And I know we've kind of gone on this like, oh, business is so tough. It's so tough. But it's tough when you're not aligned. It's tough when you haven't done that foundational work to work on what it is. And I think, and really, we have to do that on the job. So it is that tough all the way through. And the thing is we're human beings. We age, we change. Everything's changing. We're in this constant change. So it's work that you have to keep doing. So why do people stay in business if it's so damn hard all the time? Because we're changing and then things are changing and the world is changing and we have to, they say, you evolve or you die. You've got to keep evolving. And this to me for you is an evolution that you had that evolution when your daughter was born. Okay, that the life that you assumed you were going to have, because why wouldn't you, had suddenly disappeared. And now you were left with something else that you didn't quite know how to navigate, and you had to do that. And I really appreciate you sort of sharing at that. And I think a lot of people feel guilty when they sort of say, oh, it was, this wasn't what I was expecting. And you feel the need to sort of justify, but I still love my child. But it's a huge loss, but that doesn't take away from the joy of what you're dealing with in there. There's still a beautiful bundle of joy that's smiling up at you, thinking, oh, goodness me, who is this person? Like, wow. And so it's a lot to sort of take in. And I went through the same thing because, not in the same way, but because I had a very fixed mindset from the age of 7 years old, what my life was going to be. And I didn't understand vision boards or, any of that kind of stuff when I was that age. I had nobody in my life that was kind of sort of that way inclined. So, but I remember writing down a list when I was about maybe 10, or maybe a bit older, but not much older, where I was like, okay, so I am going to go to uni, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to start being a teacher, and then when I'm going to stay living at home until I am like 28, because the current wage, and I'd looked it up somewhere, I'd found out how much teachers make, and I was like, so if I make this much a year, I can save this much because I'll be living at home, and then I can afford to buy a house, and then I'll get married at 30, and then I'll have I had it all written. It was all written down. And then something happened when I was 16, and it just turned my world on its head. And I left school and I didn't get my A levels, and therefore I couldn't go to uni. And I spent the next 2 years in the darkest depression I've ever had. And then my daughter came. And then that was my purpose. And all of a sudden, my whole life was completely different to what I had planned. And the grief, and it's only in this last sort of, 5 years, like you said, the biggest personal development train ever. You start digging into all sorts of things, is that I realized that I have been stuck. And the reason that my body has been misbehaving so much is because I have been stuck in this grief, this loss that I just didn't even realize was a loss. And now it's almost like I put it on pause. I shut that door. I'm very good at, compartmentalizing everything. Everything goes in a box and gets shut away, and I can just keep going, which is why my body has suffered so much. Because, yeah, I'll talk about that in a different podcast. I will do the health stuff, and I will tell you all about what's been going on for me. But it just opened my eyes to the fact that I've been dealing with so much, but I haven't really been dealing with it. I've just locked it away and pushed it away. And so, and all that's coming out. So that's a great thing about business in that respect, is that it's helped me to uncover so much more of who I am, which is leading me to be the best version of myself that I can be, which I absolutely love. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I really appreciate you sharing that, because it's such a taboo, sort of guilt-ridden. There'll be parents out there that have got kids with autism, Down syndrome, all number of things that they thought their life was going to be one thing, and then they've had to pivot and change. And I always like to believe that there is sort of some sort of plan, some sort of something about it, and that it leads us to where we want to be. So, if you hadn't had your daughter, you wouldn't have done certain things, and you wouldn't be the person you are now. And the person you are now is bloody fantastic. So, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So, yeah, as much as it's been hard, and I think all business owners will say there are seasons when it's harder than others. You have this year been going through that evolution into what your next is going to be. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And the good thing is that my business has grown hugely
Mm.
this year. And so the irony is, the more I cut
Your
stuff out,
harvest.
the more I harvest. Exactly right. The more it grows. It's so counterintuitive.
Mm.
And the more like I do that inner gym work, the more I'm released and the more I feel I can talk about this more. And you're right, Donna. The curveballs that come with challenges around my daughter's care, the more it hones my focus on profit
Mm.
and time,
Mm.
because I have to be ruthless. Because what I've realized is, you know, my time with her and my husband is what's the most important.
Yeah.
And those little moments of going over to the playground or like having her friends over for a play date, that's the important stuff. And so you must make sure that your business is supporting that
Yeah.
and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps other people,
Yeah.
you know.
Let's hope. Let's hope. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. I think it's fascinating conversation. I've really loved it. Um, Before we end the conversation, I obviously have to ask you for a couple of LinkedIn tips because, I have spoken on this podcast a number of times about how I kind of put Instagram to bed and I'm focusing more on LinkedIn as my main platform. I would love to know from you, so it's quick fire, why LinkedIn is a good platform to be on, and then three things that we can do to improve our presence on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Here I go. I love LinkedIn for a number of different reasons, but one of the reasons is it's very commercially honest. Like people are there because they're professional. They're there because they're selling something, whether it's their own self in terms of resource for a job, or whether they have a service that they sell to other people. Whereas in all of the other platforms, it's more around the entertainment,
Mm.
right? Now, I'm not saying that you can't, like, ideally, you don't go onto LinkedIn and go, I'm just here to sell. Like, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. But what I do love about it is that that is largely why people are there, So, when I did the LinkedIn Video Academy, they also said that in terms of videos and content that work, it is to do with work, professionalism,
Mm.
the behind the scenes of your business, insights into the category or sector that you work in. So, ways to improve your LinkedIn content and presence is focusing on that. That's what the algorithm at a greater scale wants. In terms of like a super easy like soundbite for you for everybody to remember is that our about section, our profile is not a CV. It
Mm.
is not supposed to be about me, about us. Okay, so forget that SH1T because what your profile should do is help your ideal client or the hiring manager understand that you are the person for them. So, if you take nothing away from the rest of this episode, I want you to hear exactly that.
Mm.
That basically, think about how you do what you do, think about why your client needs it or wants it, and then put that into your headline, put that into your about section, put that into your content. Because your content, your profile is the bridge between people looking for exactly what you offer and you.
Mm.
And that's it. That's all it is, really. That's all any content is. And so if you can focus on that, then you will do so much better on LinkedIn.
Love that. I love that. Fabulous. And I think LinkedIn is a great platform. It really is. And I think it's growing at the moment as well. It's like business owners are finding it all of a sudden, like in the last sort of twelve months to 2 years. I think it's sort of grown in terms of business owners finding it again and going, oh, I just all had literally, it was just my CV. I just have all what my job's on there. Isn't that what LinkedIn's about? No, no, it's really not.
No, and this is it. Like, something like only 3% of users on LinkedIn post. So think about that as an opportunity. Like there's a billion users.
Mm.
And so if only 3% are actually active, think about your business and how you can get in front of people in a way that you can't on the other platforms because it's so saturated. And also another thing that came up with a client this morning is that when you activate your network, they reciprocate, so they engage with your posts if you've tagged them in a good way, not like in a spammy way.
Anyway.
Right, just for clarity there. Then your message will be exposed to their network.
Yeah.
And so that potential is huge in a way that it just doesn't exist on other networks and
Yeah.
other platforms. So
Yeah.
that's why I love it so much for my clients.
Yeah, I do too. Brilliant. Okay. So I have a little quick fire round to take you through before we end today. Um, the first question in my quick fire round is, what is the book that has made the biggest impact on your life so far?
Oh my God, I don't know the answer to that question. Because I read so much. I read so much. But currently I'm just trying to think. Um I think like Denise Duffield Thomas's book Get Rich Lucky Bitch has kicked off my inner gym
Mm.
in the last 5 years. So maybe we'll pick that one
Yeah.
just to answer the question.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Denise Duffield Thomas was on the podcast a little while ago, so I'll link that episode in the show notes for you guys. Um, Second question is, what is your favorite podcast to listen to? And you don't say mine.
Well, as I said, I actually yours. Also, oh God, Joanne and that one. The My therapist ghosted me. It's hysterically funny,
Oh, I love a good funny one.
and Chill and Prosper. I love as well.
Yeah,
So kind of you're my top three.
brilliant. Love that. I love being in the top three. What is your go-to snack when you're in a hurry?
Oh, when I'm in a hurry, God, I honestly don't know. I'm not a major snacker, she lies. Um, it's probably chocolate. Or almond nuts,
Hmm.
like so I'd be a devil for like, a piece of dark chocolate with some almonds.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice combo. Love that. And then what is your favorite me time thing to do?
Listen to podcasts and go for a walk. Like that is kind of what I do. I mean, like favorite would probably be like drive to the sea and bring my book with me and like just like literally give off that vibe of do not even look at me, even if you are my best friend.
Hmm.
I do not want to speak to anybody right now. I'm so overly touched, stimulated. I've given everything, so
Yeah.
now is like I'm in a
That
cocoon
bubble.
by the sea with my book, possibly with headphones, to really give out that
Do
don't
not talk
speak
to
to
me
me
vibe.
vibe. Isn't that terrible?
No.
And so for people who know me, they're like, that really does not give off any, like, that is
They're
not
like,
Elaine. Oh, it is.
they're like,
Oh, it
oh my
is.
God, have I been really bothering her when I've gone round to
No,
see
because
her? Or
no. Yeah, exactly. Like, but I give off so much energy
Yes.
when I am like around people that I have to make sure that I come back, retreat, and just really replenish it, or I burn out like very easily.
Yeah. Oh, understood. Understood. So Elaine, where can people find you?
Well, I've got a really, really innovative and very difficult way of finding me. It's my name. So Google Elaine Walsh-McGrath. I believe I'm the only one.
I
And
love that.
so ElaineWalshMcGrath.com is the way you will most easily find me. And let's see if I do actually reduce the amount of platforms that I'm on that I've almost committed to on this episode. So like if you see that I'm not on Facebook, yeah, send me a message and go, well done.
Yeah,
Obviously not on
not
Facebook,
on Facebook. She won't
but
get that.
yeah, but on LinkedIn, because
Yeah.
I'll always be on LinkedIn. I love it.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, that is it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Elaine, thank you so much for your time. We will be back. Well, I will be back again next week with another episode for you. All Elaine's links, to her website will be in the show notes. Anything else we've spoken about today will also be down there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.